So, today we're going to really look deep into slope in our situations. We're going to be using these graphing sheets that we use in class to help us guide us along today. All right. So, the questions you need to ask yourself while we're working on these situations is what is the slope? Again, that's today's focus. Can I find the slope in the situation? What about can I find the slope in the equation? Can I find the slope in the graph? Can I find the slope in the table? By the end of the day, we're hoping your answer is yes to all of these questions. All right, so let's just go over slope. Slope describes how steep a line is. So if we just look at this line right here, you can see that it's a positive slope. It's going uphill. We can also do some math with it. The math that we would do is we would choose any 2 points, this one and this one. And the first thing that I like to do is figure out how much the slope changed in my y. So that would be change in y. Your other teachers have called this rise, perhaps. And our change in x. Our x change would be called run. Also, teachers and myself like to call not only this slope, but rate of change. Rate of change has 2 things changing. We have the y changing, and then we have the x changing. So to help memorize this, I like to say change in y over change in x. Previous teachers could have said rise over run. That's okay. But we prefer change in y over change in x. All right, the first situation that we are starting with is making $10 per hour. That's pretty much it. Please write that down. Make $10 per hour. Okay. Well, first thing that we should do is think about what's changing. We see that we have money changing and time changing. So with these 2 changing variables, we need to decide which one will be x, the independent variable, and which one will be y, the dependent variable. X, the independent variable, does not depend on anything. It's independent. Time will always be independent. It's always going to keep happening. It will be independent. So x is our time. Time is the independent variable. Sometimes as I'm doing this, I like to actually start off with what depends on the other thing. Well, in our situation, the money we make depends on the time. So we know that y will be money because y is the dependent variable. The money depends on the time worked. All right, now that we've defined our x and y, could you guys please write your x and y inside our key? We're going to use this as a key. So x is time in hours and y is money. All right, sometimes the best place to start is with a table. So with a table, we're going to start filling out an 8-hour workday. We make $10 per hour. We work 0 hours, we'll make $0. We work 1 hour, we're just going to make $10. 2 hours, 20 hours. 3 hours is 30 hours. Can you guys continue filling this out? And as always, if you need more time, just hit the pause button. Oh man. So now that we have this 8-hour work day filled out, we're going to look to see if we can find the slope within the table. And we sure can. The slope in the table, again, slope is change in y over change in x. So let's look for some change. I'm going to take these 2 points and I'm going to find the change in y. The change in y is 20 minus 10. 20 minus 10 is 10. Using those exact same points, I'm going to find my change in x. My change in x is 2 minus 1. And 2 minus 1 is 1. My slope right now is 10 over 1. This is exciting. I can see it in the table by finding my change in y divided by my change in x. Well, since we have this table all written down, let's graph it out. We're using only positive x's and only positive y's, and I can see that looking at our table. So I'm just going to use quadrant 1, where everything is positive. My x's are positives, and my y's are positives. I'm going to go by ones on my x's. Notice how I'm labeling it. Please do the same. Don't forget to label x is hours. Y is money. And I'm going to go by fives. Please do the same. All right, let's graph it out. Let's see if we can find our graph. I started with 0 hours, $0. That's my first stop. 1 hour, $10. 2 hours, 20. 3 hours, 30. 4 hours, 40. 5 hours, 50. 6 hours, 60. 7 hours, 70. 8 hours, 80. Wow, look at that great pattern. And I think to myself, can I have fractions? Like, could I work only, 30 minutes? And the answer is yes. So because I can do all these different fractional amounts of time, like 1/60th, I am going to draw a line. We'll talk about more of that later. All right, so we have a line. Now let's look for our slope. All right, our slope, I'll use blue for this one. I'm going to grab any 2 points that I want, and I'm going to look for my change in y over change in x. So again, slope is change in y over change in x. Pick any point that I like this point. I'm going to go to this point, and I see that I change. Remember, each one's 5. So I change in y 10. 5 plus 5 is 10. I change in y 10. I change in x 1. Oh, but we already knew that. Our slope is 10 over 1. That's exciting. I can clearly see my slope. Now let's say you're like, well, I didn't choose those 2 points. I chose other points. And I chose this point here and this point here. All right, so let's find our slope. So our change in y over change in x. So for here to here, I changed 3 hours. 3 hours on my x. Change 3. And then I went... I went up 30. My change in y was 30. Oh, dang, look at how cool that is. Our fractions can reduce. 30 over 3 is equivalent to 10 over 1. The slope is the same. Oh yeah, that totally makes sense that the slope is the same. The slope would be the same because the line has the same steepness. The line has the same rate of change. The line has the same slope. All right. Let's create an equation for this now. So let's think of in terms of money. How do we get money? Well, money, all we do is work $10 per hour. So we go back and we think, what was our variable for money? Oh yeah, money was y. So I'm just going to substitute that. I'm going to substitute y for money. If you want to just think about me just writing a y over money, that's okay too. Y equals the same, 10 per hour. So that means I'm going to multiply per hour. Hour was x. Oh, that's great. If you want to think about just substituting hour for x, that's great. So now we have an equation, y equals 10x. Exciting. Where's the slope here? I see the slope. The slope is just 10. The slope is just 10. It's $10 per 1 hour. I see the slope. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to continue with our key. So in the center of our worksheet, please write slope equals rise over run. Please write that slope is change in y over change in x. Please write that the slope is 10 over 1. Our y-intercept is 0, 0. All right. Y-intercept should be reviewed, but in case we'll go over it as well. So the first thing we're going to do is highlight where we see the slope. So I highlighted the slope inside my key. That yellow highlight that I used is going to represent the slope in the situation, the graph, the table, and the equation. Does not matter what color you use, as long as you use the same color for the slope. Well, I highlighted the slope there. I highlighted the slope in my situation as $10 per hour. I highlighted the slope in my graph. I highlighted the slope in my table. I highlighted the slope in my situation. Please note, just highlight 10. Once you're done with that, let's go and highlight the y-intercept. Y-intercept might be a little tricky, but I highlighted it pink. It's super simple to see in the graph. It's at the point 0, 0, 0, 0. It's super simple to see in our table. I see it at 0, 0. I had to add that we started at $0 to make it work with our situation, but that makes sense for this job. I had to add +0 because we can add +0 to anything. Please make sure you have this highlighted in a different color now. Right now, I want you to double check your work. You should have 2 colors in the key, the situation, the graph, the table, and the equation. Please make sure you have 2 colors now in all of these sections. Sweet. All right. Flip your paper over. We are going to do this situation. I like to help my younger siblings study. For every 3 questions correct, they get 2 M&Ms. So our first step is just like the other ones. We need to figure out our independent, our x value, and our dependent value, our y value. Remember, x does not depend on the other. So I'm going to think of this backwards. Let's think of y first. Y depends on the other one. Well, the M&Ms depend on how many questions they got correct. So y is the M&Ms. M&Ms is the dependent variable. Dependent variable. All right. There you go. We're going to let you do this one on your own. Please let me know how it goes. You are going to get it checked by a teacher on your next day of class. I would like you to do this one on your own. I hope you guys have a great day, and I wish you tons of luck. Remember to always double check that you have 2 colors in each situation. Hope you have a great day. Please come back and ask us questions in this Ed Puzzle.